Yeah, everyone, this is Thermite, and this is Battle Angel Alita Mars Chronicle Volume 2. This is the first time, not just that I've recorded at full volume in a while, it's the first time I've spoken out loud at full volume in literally weeks. So I'm relishing this new feeling. Anyways, on the cover we have Yoko. She is definitely not child Yoko. As soon as I saw it, my first thought was, we're jumping into the future. Like, my theory for the series has been, like, it's Mars Chronicle. Like, it's Chronicle of what Alita did in the past on Mars, going up until, the fateful mission where she was executed. And then, like, it would be the future thing. Like, after Last Order, when she went to Mars to potentially meet up with Erica again. Like, I figured it would be both. Therefore, this could be current Alita. That said, this thing that she has on her reminds me a lot of the like the animal gadget things that she had when she was a tuned agent, which makes me think like maybe she had those when she was a Panzerkünstler. Like maybe this is showing, like maybe this is a short time skip from when she was a kid to like her first missions. In which case, like maybe she even had like some memories of this, and that's why Tuned bothered with the like the special mechanical gadgets. Like maybe they were based on things from her time as a Panzerkünstler, perhaps. Because there's really no way to tell, right? Like this isn't what she looked like when she left, like at the very end of Last Order. But that's not to say, like, I mean, she's a cyborg, right? There's really no way to tell which Alita is which. Like, if it's a specific body that we've seen in the past, we can tell. But if it's a new body, it's basically impossible, right? Because by the time she was executed, like when Kyrilla dropped her from the atmosphere and presumably either like dropped her in the scrapyard or I guess just around the scrapyard. Like they might have just dragged her in from somewhere and put her on top when Dr. Ito found her. But yeah, like at that point, her face was still like it had to have been mechanical, right? Like the only thing that would have still been her was her brain. Because her brain, I forgot what Nova said specifically, but it was something like her brain was injected with some sort of substance, or like all the water was replaced with some other substance, so that it could survive basically anything, except for small explosions, since he did destroy like 40% of her brain that one time. Anyways, I'm getting really, really off topic. Basically, I don't know what to expect going into this. I also really like this aesthetic. Like, if we go back to the first, where it's like black, white, and then just one other color, it's really cool. It's a neat aesthetic. This yellow is a bit super bright, but to be fair, that might be my monitor. Like, if I had this physically, I imagine it would look really, really cool. Like the super highlighter yellow, but it's actual ink. Anyways, I don't think this is a location we've seen before. Though if we're following the same thing as the previous cover, then maybe this is where she's trying to airdrop into. Era Sputnik, year 594, Mars. Now this would be a little more useful if I remembered all the various years. I think this is the present, right? Like, I remember Era Sputnik was, it counts after Sputnik's launch, but I don't think we got an Era Sputnik for the previous volume, did we? No. Like, nothing's really jumping out, so we'll move forward. Sorry for all the dilly-dallying. Okay. I'm back. So, I mean, for Mamiana, so I guess this could be any time really though, right? Like it's just her as an adult visiting. But she does have the same outfit and critter that was on the cover. Okay, so first of all, it talks. Second of all, we're really just saying like, yeah, it's Erica. Frau X is Erica. There's really no there's no misleading it, I guess. 208 years and we finally meet here again. Yeah, so this is definitely current Alita, or, post Last Order Alita. It's been 200 years. Nobody even remembers that there used to be a town here anymore. I wonder if, I guess Mars doesn't really have weather, but they have, breaches in the atmosphere. But I guess even that, that's a pretty rare thing to have happen. So if that doesn't happen, you wouldn't really have winds to disturb the area. Like, things would still break down and decay and, just get rusty. But, you wouldn't have, big storm-like events that would, throw things away or, severely just remove everything. Oh, really? Okay, so she had it built not just, to commemorate them, though I assume that is part of it, but also just to, to make sure that Alita would find it and, be here at some points. I guess this must actually be the coordinates, the coordinates that were zapped into Zazie that Alita then had to reverse. Which, by the way, Like, of all the things that Panzerkunst can do, I think I brought this up on the discussion podcast, but man, that is extremely wild. The idea of not only having, like, thousands of separate, like, tiny little impacts that are constantly bouncing around her brain, but also encoding some sort of, like, coordinates in those as well that can only be decoded if you're able to successfully remove all of them. Okay, so it's been 3 years since Zots. So, okay. I guess that explains, like, it doesn't explain why she has this weird gun thing, but it's like, she has had other adventures since then. I was away on Venus for work. I see. So your full name is Alita Yoko. Not quite correct. Well, I guess that's a new name we can we can add to her, like, on top of all the other names that Alita's acquired up until this point. Okay. A berserker gun. It's basically mutation of berserker cells. Interesting. I do like this though. Like, Alita's always worked best when she has someone around her, like when she has a cast. And it seems like for the most part she's been a solo like whatever she was doing on Venus has been solo work. So I guess this is a way to have her be solo while at the same time having someone to bounce off of. Okay. Oh, that is true. I assumed they just meant it, like, she's meant it on sense of, like, they were on Venus, but she had to do something involving berserker cells, and that's how this came to be. But I guess that also makes sense. Like, now that Ladder has been dissolved, each of the different planets would probably have, like, free reign to do what they want, like to branch out into other forms of technology. Okay, bringing up the Neo Third Reich Brigade. Hey, it's Q and Carla. Man, for some reason, even though I knew, like, I figured we'd be going forward in time, I didn't really expect to see old characters, for some reason. Like, I guess just because of the way Volume 1 started us off. I just kind of imagined that we wouldn't see anyone until, like, Supernova 5 volumes in. Wait, okay, so Zex is now with Gundrel. I mean, they may have mentioned that before, but I guess, like, 3 years on, and, he is still with them. That's cool. I hope we get to see him again. So she is still the queen, and she's still, like, controlling Mars for the most parts. Except for, I assume, the area the Neo Third Reich is controlling. Right. 3 years ago, we lost our home of... So we're actually following up on that. I kind of just assumed that was an inciting incident. Like, it happened, but whatever. Okay. Supposedly there's some kind of reclusive, ultra-wealthy magnate who secretly controls the worlds. Of course, design means existence in Germany, so I'd be saying, like, the existence exists. Yeah, this... I like that Q managed to bring it up, because, man, this does feel really jumbled. I can accept it, though. Like, just because, like, there are a lot of threads we need to tie back together right now. Like, if we want to have a coherent future story in Mars Chronicle, it makes sense to get everything straightened out right now, while it's still, vague. While the reader still quite doesn't know what's going on. Was Zazie fighting the Neo Third Reich Brigade when she met Frau X? I guess so. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. So, what I'm thinking about happened before that. Like, the whole Frau X meeting with Zazie. That happens, and then this is a mission that we didn't get to see. Yes, because it was a 3-year time skip. This mission took place 2 years ago. Okay, so, I guess Erica's going right in for it. By the way, this art is really interesting. Like, even compared to the first volume. I guess because the first volume was very static, not very, like, action-y. I mean, there was action, but it was much more, like, grounded action, as opposed to, like, Zot's tier, cyborg battle action. It might also just be because Erica has blonde hair, or, like, yeah, it is blonde, right? Like, there's a lot of negative space being used here. Or, like, not negative space necessarily, because that implies, like, this would be negative space. Whereas this is just, like, I don't know how to put it. Just a lot of white being used. Whereas I usually don't expect that from Alita specifically. I usually associate the Alita art style, especially Last Order's art style, with a lot of detail and a lot of, like, inky blacks. Oh no, you don't have a tail! Oh my. This panel is actually incredible. It's such a soft rub. It feels very... like, this panel especially is, like, this is prime Alita. This is what I think of when I think of the franchise. It's a combination of incredible power and something extremely goofy happening. Okay, so That's interesting though. That like she had intel up until the Zot. I mean, I guess the Zot was being televised, right? So all she would have had to do is find a recording of the Zots to notice, like, oh yeah, Alita has a tail. Uh, I wish she had it too, but I guess it must have come off at some point during the Venus arc. They're all up there in heaven now. They'll be happy to see how we've grown. It does seem like I'm interested in how Erica's grown differently as a person, because she was this almost saint-like figure when she was younger, in the sense that like basically anything she did was correct. Like she had like instances of weakness as a human being, but for the most part, like she did everything that the audience would want her to do. She was almost always correct, whereas now she is much more complex as a character, much like Alita, except we saw Alita's, we saw how Alita got to this point, whereas we didn't see it with Erica. So I hope that we do get like more flashbacks, and especially more of Erica specifically. Because like, I'm honestly not that interested in Yoko's backstory. Like, we've seen enough of it. Like, after the orphanage, or like, after they got picked up and, didn't become the Spire, like, we can basically fill in what happens based on flashbacks. We know more or less what happens to get Yoko to where she was at the start of the original series. Whereas with Erica, like, she's the big unknown. She's the one I want to know a lot more about. This definitely does feel brighter. Again, I could just be, misremembering it. But even this, like, this muzzle flash feels so bright and vivid, and, like, it uses more whites than I'm used to when it comes to Alita. This isn't a bad thing. It's just, like, it's an interesting design choice, I guess. Oh, okay, so she didn't even ask him to do it. Like, he's just fully autonomous. Oh, okay. A combination of Berserker cells and Organic Collapser. So, like what Zazie was using before. Man, it feels so weird to think that... Like, I mean, I guess he is a Berserker cell organism. But, like, it's so weird to think that we started the series with the Berserker body being this ridiculous, old, ancient, powerful technology. And now, like, the biggest use of Berserker cells we've seen in quite a while has been using them just to immediately use the thing that destroys Berserker cells. She must have deflected it then, but like from point blank range. Oh, okay, that's a really cool idea. Just a tiny gun, not even meant for executions, but specifically meant just for deflecting other bullets. That is... God, the state of cyborg martial arts is absolutely insane. It definitely seems like she has an appetite for battle now, like, much like Alita, like... like original series, losing herself in the tuned missions Alita. Like, even her facial expression here feels very like that Alita. Except, that Alita would have, much blanker eyes. Whereas there's more shine in Erica's eyes here. Like, she seems like she's genuinely having a bit of fun with it. Okay. Remember what you said to me before shipping out 200 years ago? The next time I see you, I will kill you. What could have led to this? Especially since it seems like Erica doesn't like, she definitely has sort of a grudge against Yoko / Alita. Like, at the very least, she has, like, this desire to fight her. But, like, what could have led to this? What was this big thing that resulted in both them, like, battering each other? Oh boy, to sign undercover. Do we have a secret agent infiltrating them? Man, it is, like, I think one of the reasons I love the dynamic of this fight is, both the fact that they do look like polar opposites, like, black hair and then white body, white hair, black body. But also the fact that Erica is taking the very traditional Alita role of being, the one who is enjoying the fight immensely. Like, I really appreciate that it isn't two people who really want to fight really fighting. Because, like, it's so rare to see Alita as the rational one, as the one who is not trying to run away from the fight, but the one who is trying to de-escalate the situation. Also, the big question is, like, how much can Alita still do? Like, how powerful is she right now? There's the possibility that she is, she's back to pre-Zot strength, in which case she would genuinely be having a lot of trouble with Erica. Or it could just be that she's immensely powerful, but she doesn't want to fight her. So if she gets serious, she will just immediately destroy her, or she'll immediately be able to immobilize her. Not a good move. Definitely not a good move. Like, Alita feels like she's off her game. Oh my god. I love how fluid Erica's fighting style is. Like, one of the big dangers of cyborg martial arts, as we've seen them already is that they get a little static because every blow is incredibly powerful. One of the reasons I really liked like late Zod Alita is that she did feel very cat-like when she was fighting. Like she had a lot of flexibility compared to like the actual martial artists, the karateka, because they would focus more on like actual kata. Therefore, they would feel more like structured, more robotic almost, which isn't my favorite aesthetic when it comes to a fight. So I guess the Neo Third Reich is not our main enemies then. I wonder what the difference is between a necro soldier and just like a cyborg being like held to the very last threads of life. Because we've seen that you can be pretty destroyed and still like be alive and still be functional. Like, like the I keep forgetting their names, but the soldiers where you screw their heads onto the bodies. So like what separates a necro soldier from like a soldier like that who was like brain dead at some point but was then revived? So they're kind of like zombies then almost. Like they don't have free will. Like the personality, the memories, like everything is there, but they don't have control over it. Someone else just puts in like inputs and then the body reacts according to like muscle memory, according to the personality and the skills and whatnot they had in the past. Okay. Now they're so good at disguising it. Not even X-rays can detect a necro soldier. I mean, if this is being done by our Mars Illuminati, basically, then this is the perfect sort of weapon for them. Like, that means that literally anyone could be a necro soldier. Like, all you have to do is kill them, and then you can instantly revive them as a necro soldier. So the Neo Third Reich was never going to be our main villains. Like, they don't exist. They're all just created by design, essentially. Like, they were led by design. They were mobilized. I guess that also makes sense. Like, the initial explanation for the Neo Third Reich was, there were theories that the Nazis went to Mars early on, like, before World War II ended. But that always felt a little bizarre to me. It makes sense if they are supposed to be a fictional terrorist group then, because, like, what do people hate the most? Like, what is the ultimate generic bad guy? It's Nazis. So if you need a group that exists out there that takes actions and that can be like universally condemned as evil, why not have them be space Nazis, essentially? My intuition tells me that design is somewhere here on Mars. So we don't really have a plot yet, but we have a lot of like indistinct threads that have the potential to tie it together. All based around Erica. Like, if anyone's going to shed some light on this, it has to be Erica. And then I imagine, like, Alita will have some information. She'll eventually meet up with, maybe not even with Guntroll, but with someone else. Then we'll finally get it all, like, tied together properly. Whoa, wait, what? Wait, what? It looks like Erica, maybe she used some sort of, like, telekinesis almost to fire tiny explosives at Alita, perhaps? What in the heck was that move? What in the world? Jeez, that's one hell of an impact. Oh, you know what Erica reminds me a lot of? One of the early, like, original Alita covers. The one where Alita goes to cyberspace, I think, for the first time. Where, like, she has, like, her body's pure black, and then she has, like, Tron lines all around her, and then her hair is lit up in a, like, this, like, sickly green. That's what she reminds me of a lot, actually. God, they are really selling this punch. Like, this is a... Like, I guess it technically starts here. Like, this was just bombs, I guess? Yeah, because the fist didn't impact her yet. It had to have been whatever these are. But then we have, like, 4 pages dedicated to this punch. That is insanity. 5 if you count this, which is just, the impacts. Okay, so I guess they are friends to some extent. Is Danko going to help her, though? Because, I don't know. Like, it feels like he's just here to make commentary, but I feel like he's got to also prove himself to be useful at some point. Right. Okay. That is true. Oh, that explains it. Like, I was so confused as to what these waves coming out of her head were. Like, I assumed it had to have been, like, telekinesis, I guess, but it makes more sense for it to just be ultrasonic waves. Okay. So, like, these are... I was gonna say homing missiles, but I guess they're more like homing bullets, right? God, Erica is so stylish. Like, I love her as a fighter. This is insane. It also really helps that we have all these like pure white backgrounds for her to fight against. Like the aesthetic of it is really nice. It reminds me a lot actually of certain moments in Bleach. Like one of the things I loved the most about Bleach fights were the moments where it was just nothing in the background, pure white, and then one person doing something super crazy. Like that clean contrast of black and white. It's like when I think of incredible moments in manga, that's what I tend to think of. Like not even super highly detailed art, but art that makes incredible use of black and whites. Like Alita really feels completely outmatched when it comes to raw skill. Jeez. I mean, it's actually really nice to see someone who is I guess an ostensibly pure Panzerkünstler who is this good. Because a lot of the other times we've seen Panzerkunst in general, they've all been sort of gimmicky. I guess their teacher, whose name we just saw, like Zintz, we saw him fighting before with kind of pure-ish Panzerkunst, but even then, like the tiny bombs always makes me feel real weird. That's also what why I didn't fully recognize it with Erica. Even though he brought up that yes, tiny bombs are a valid way of using martial arts, it never struck me as being true Panzerkunst. Just because I keep on thinking of it as like, the perfect way to use a cyborg body, as opposed to also having like other gimmicks. Have you had too many? Oh, okay, karateka. Or are you supposed to pronounce this karateka? I've like when it was all one word, I kept on saying karateka. I assumed that's how it's pronounced. Is it actually supposed to be like karateka or karateka? Whoa, you're so powerful. It's hard to believe you're dead. So either she's a copy, or because we just talked about the Necros, she's also most likely dead then. I don't bear a grudge against you anymore. Not since I killed you 200 years ago. Like, if this is true, if she's been a Necro soldier for 200 years, that's, Okay, on the way to Mars, I heard a story about the Neo Third Reich Brigade. The Einherjar, Necro soldiers. Erica, you're a Necro soldier. I mean, how would you even be able to tell whether you're a Necro soldier or not? Because, like, the way they said it before, I imagined it was going to be, they're basically like puppets, but then if you, like, send them a command, they'll perform the command in accordance with, like, the way they would have acted in life. But, in which case, like, how do you distinguish that? How do you distinguish someone telling you, like, go here and fight Alita from your own personal feelings of, I would like to go here and fight Alita? Whoa. Yeah, that really got under her skin. I'm kind of surprised. Like, I expected that it would be like, it would mess her up. Like, especially with this shot, but I don't know. I didn't expect her to break this much so quickly. I mean, I guess this is Alita finally being serious. Oh my god. Okay. So, while holding that arm, she's still able to remotely control it, so she used it to grab Erica's foot. Jeez. Oh my god. Oh, she was born a cyborg, so she has no built-in fear or panic about losing her limbs. That is a line we have never heard before. Like, that feels like it's, just being thrown in there as if we know it. Clearly, like, Erica just knows it, but she was born a cyborg. So, like, up until this point, I've been assuming that, whatever happened to their city, like, that's the reason why Erica was a cyborg. Like, or not why Yoko was a cyborg. Like, maybe her head was chopped off and, like, just stuck on a pre-made toddler body or something. Like, that's what I kept on thinking. I hadn't considered the idea that she was born a cyborg. Or, like, what would she even mean by that? I assume, like, she was born into a body that couldn't, like, function. Like, she was born with severe physical deformities, but her brain was still okay, so they just immediately put her brain in a cyborg body. Something like that. I am glad we're getting this, like, inner monologue, though. Like, it's showing that Erica does know her. And also, but, like, because she knows her, that shows that, yes, Yoko and Alita are the same person. Like, at their very core. They've experienced different things, but, like, that personality, that drive, that ferocity, like, it's all still there. That's all what she is like. Okay. It's time to move on to the modern style. I mean, basically every Künstler we've seen so far does have some weird take on Panzerkunst, so I guess it makes sense that Erica would also have one. Panzerzittern. And like we have this almost ray effect, not even coming from her head, it's coming from like her chest. Like if we assume those like those supersonic waves that she used to trigger the bombs before were like, like those are her invention. That's not what Zix like taught her when he passed down the traditional art of using bombs. So would you have other techniques based entirely around the use of supersonic waves? Like, because like if you get into vibrations and stuff, like Panzerkunst already uses a lot of vibration stuff. If this is like Panzerkunst, but all the vibrations are just going through the air, that could be super dangerous. I've compared normal Panzerkunst a lot to Hokuto Shinken, from Fist of the North Star. But like if she was able to take those vibrations and put them into the air, that'd be kind of more like Nanto Seiken. Like this power to like use vibrations to create weapons or to like cut things without touching them. I mean, they already have like plasma arcs and whatnot, but I mean like literally without there being a physical or plasma thing to touch other things with. Just like cut things with vibrations. Like, is that what this could be potentially? The eyes here are also really worrying. Like, these are the Alita as part of Tuned, just killing things for the sake of trying to forget what happened to her in her past. Like, these are the crazy Alita eyes. Okay, I guess we're not getting it. I guess we're not doing the Panzerzittern. I don't believe we've seen these two. This guy, I guess, is he the one we saw in Volume 1? I don't think we got his name, but I think I remember his face, right? Oh, wait, which one did she say what was a Necro Soldier? Kirvitzer. None of them, actually. Never mind. But okay, it's the classic, almost use my secret technique, but I gotta skedaddle first. You're fated to perish at the hands of Carla Sanguis in the Zot 3 years ago. Okay, huh. This is a big line, though. Like, you were fated to perish at the hands of Carla Sanguis. To the point where, like, in that fight, I believe Alita did have a vision of being killed. Like, was all of this preordained? Like, was that set up? Because if that was set up, that means that not only did they have to control the incredible, like, karmic whirlpool that is Alita, but they also would have had to, like, yeah, because they were the ones that got Guntrolled to be where they were. It was all their idea. Therefore, like, was that all to get Carla within striking distance of Alita to kill her, to turn her into a Necro Soldier? Like, is that what's happening? Wait, what? Okay, I didn't read this. Instead, she gave you the Fata Morgana, which eventually led to you becoming the Last Order. So, the Fata Morgana, that is something they could have potentially seen. Becoming the Last Order, though, that is... I mean, actually, no, never mind. Because Carla did say, you will be the Last Order. Like, that is something that she specifically told Alita. Yeah, because, it is technically the code name for the agent working for Melchizedek and Jupitan. But it was also a term used by Carla, like, at that point. That makes more sense for them to know. Because the alternative is, if they were able to hear the conversation between Melchizedek, Alita, and Jupitan, that's a whole other layer of surveillance. Like, how could you possibly know that? They would have had to either have hacked Melchizedek or Jupitan then to know that. I mean, actually, I guess the third option is actually just they have something in Alita that lets them see whatever she sees. Like, that's also a possibility, I guess. But, like, because we've been so intimate with her, and because, like, even, I guess because she's been so deconstructed, like, she's changed bodies so many times, the one part of her that has remained the same this entire time is her brain, and not even her brain. Because at the start of Last Order, like, the child bomb that Nova used blew up, like, what was it again? It was, like, a good chunk of her brain. I don't think was it more or less than 50%? I want to say it was less. It was something like, as long as we have 60% of the brain, we can use Carmatronics to rebuild the rest of the brain with everything in it in a way where like, it's not cloning. It is literally what that brain was at the time. Like, I can't imagine the Nova would have recreated her brain along with a tracking device or something. Like, there's no way. Just for the sake of being a crazy agent of chaos, I imagine he would have removed it. I feel like they had to have just been listening into the conversation between Alita and Carla, like, in cyberspace. I refuse to believe that they were listening into the Melchizedek Jipitan conversation. That'd be way too nuts. Oh god. Why is it always exploding kids? Knowing you, you'll be able to let the child fall to its death. Okay. Oh, okay. So she can't, like, jump onto the ship and try to follow them. Oh? This face looks like Zazie. But then why would she be after Alita? Release your hostage. Oh boy, what misunderstanding do we have now? Like, what is about to happen? Okay, yes, this is, the big buff guy on Zazie's team. Okay, so... Nope, Donko, please don't, please don't. Don't make this any worse. What team is this? Like, They're fast enough to blitz Alita. That is pretty nuts. Like, legitimately blitz her. Like, it's pretty clear she doesn't know what's going on. Ooh, these are some cool suits. I really like them. Okay, you're under arrest for the attempted assassination of Queen Lemuria. I mean, I doubt she did. I doubt she tried to. Lemuria's out by the asteroids. Alita came directly from Venus, I assume, to Mars. Which, actually, no, you would have to go through the asteroid belts, right? Because the asteroid belt is it between Venus and Earth? Is that correct? I don't think that's correct, is it? Either way, I doubt that Alita tried to assassinate her. Log 10, bomb-proof armored interrogation cell. Ooh, actually. Yeah, so it is, like, distinctly a different design. So is this a flashback, then? Because she also has the tail here, which we know she doesn't have now. Yes, it is a flashback. In that case, like, maybe she did try to assassinate Queen Lemuria. Like, if we're actually going to see a flashback of this. Okay. They're saying that Alita wants a meeting with Queen Lemuria. I mean, there's also the possibility, like, we've seen other clones of Alita out there. Like, it's very possible. They may have taken, like, one of the other members of Tuned and just turned them into an Necro Soldier. That's also 100% possible. So, that's just an open-faced assassination attempt. 100%. Plus, like, she's using the plasma fingers, which is, like, it's not a normal thing. That said, like, if someone were to try to, like, to try and copy Alita right down to the way she looked right after the Zot, then I imagine they would have, given her assassination technique that looks like one she used before. But there's no way, right? She couldn't have really killed Queen Lemuria, right? Because they said that she was still on the asteroid, so I guess that could have been a cover-up. But, like, the Teddy's destroyed. If that theory about the Teddy actually being the king secretly is true, then the king's dead. Though then again, I mean, cyborgs exist, so I imagine they could have just, like, as long as her brain is still fine, Queen Lemuria could have been put into a cyborg body or something. This is interesting, though. Like, I feel like we have to then talk about the Venus story. Like, what in the world did she do between the Zot and now? Why doesn't she have, that body? Where'd her tail go? Because I do believe her. Like, that felt very out of place. It felt like a setup, for sure. Yeah, I can imagine, like, even if it would prove her to be correct, she doesn't want anyone to mess with her brain. A lot of that's already happened. Plus, technically, would they have that technology? Like, I don't think Mars has brain biochip technology, and Alita is currently, like, her brain is a brain biochip. Now the data is inaccessible. Like, yeah. For that, you claim you're on Venus, yet you refuse to say what you're doing, so... Yeah, like, I completely agree. She has a lot of red flags, and I assume because it's Alita, she's not going to explain this, or she doesn't want to explain it for some reason. That's just how she is. Okay, and they even bothered to check Alpha's Wolf. Fair enough. Zex couldn't do it. Like, at this point, he looks so completely, utterly different from Alita. There's no way he'd be able to pass as her. I request the release of Alita Yoko, effective immediately. Is Mui the one we saw before, or is it a different one? Like, the face looks kind of like that blank face, but I'm not sure if that was what her name was. Also, she's calling her Alita Yoko, which is just the name that the gun gives. Oh, did she meet the gun before then, perhaps? Like, we did set that up in this volume. Okay, so it is actually her. I guess she must have just had, like, an upgrade. Or not an upgrade. She must have had like a promotion or two. Because she wasn't a priest Aaron before. She was just taking orders from them. Okay, fair enough. So she is part of the Soul Network. If I provide you with a log, perhaps you will find the charges against her will be proven wrong. Yeah, like, even if she doesn't have anything regarding the asteroids, but she would have at least been able to tell them about the whole showdown with Erica, which would have proved that definitely Alita's not working with them. Though, I mean, they have to have blank spots, though, right? I mean, you can't have the Mars Illuminati with also a network that is, like, able to record everything, unless I guess they might own the MVP then. Or, did I just call them the NVP? The MBV, sorry. Oh my gosh, Carol is here too. Yeah, there's a lot of heavy hitters here. Also, it does feel really cool that all the heavy hitters here are women. Like, that's just a strong Alita thing to do. That, like, the one guy here is hopelessly out of his league. Okay. So, first of all, this is a gorgeous panel. I love it. I'm going to find a way to use it in everyday conversation. This is one of the best Kyrla faces I think I've ever seen. But also, so Kyrla was on that ship then. I'm really enjoying the way the story is being presented now. Like, there's so much of it that we haven't seen, but people have just mentioned that, yes, this thing happens. It's a little tricky to keep everything straight, but it's interesting. Like, it's a neat way to have the characters know more than the audience without having to use amnesia, or without having to use a surrogate character who doesn't know anything. So she must have found something about the sign specifically. See, last order chapters 83 to 84. Okay, so this was the moment that was happening. Yes. So this is what we saw back then with Frau X. Okay, that's very possible. I urge you to conduct a thorough review of all medical professionals on staff and the seizure of anyone who has undergone craniotomy procedures in the past 5 years. Yeah, like, if literally anyone could be a necro soldier, that's wild. That's true. Like, could that fake Alita have attacked Queen Lemuria specifically so that she would be turned into a necro soldier? Especially because it seems like Queen Lemuria has been taking over, Mars very cleanly over the past 3 years. Like, she has 80% of Mars. At first, I thought of that as a good thing, but like, if she's being controlled, essentially, like, if this is all part of a secret master plan to control Mars and, to go beyond that eventually, then it would make sense to have her, take out, the literal Nazis on Mars to be seen as a hero, and then to start uniting more and more of Mars. Some parts of which I assume were actual rebellions, and some of which are most likely, like, false flag operations. Yeah, she looks fine. The teddy bear's a little worse for wear, though. Yeah, even with my eyes, I can't determine if she's a necro soldier or not. Okay, that's a neat way of putting it. Like, it's not that Carla literally can't tell. It's that, like, using what she can right now, using what is considered to be, like, okay to do in the situation, she can't tell. But, like, if push came to shove, she'd be able to. That's also interesting. Like, what is the operation for becoming a necro soldier then? If you can do it so cleanly that, like, there's no obvious traces, there's no, like, black box sending out information or, like, receiving commands. I guess it all has to be like nanotechnology then. All right. So I love this pattern. I think it's such a cool idea. Like, defeating the previous villain then unlocks a greater villain. Like, because Embody, like, as powerful as Embody was, he was legitimately holding things together. Like, he's the reason why Ladder was able to keep all the other planets in line. He's the reason why, our Mars Illuminati didn't make a big move. Like, he was legitimately one of a kind. Now that he's gone, like, we've opened up Pandora's box even more than it already was open. Okay, so, and she's even, like, she's pretty ticked off about that. That, yeah, she was used as a pawn. Like, these are some massive scale games. I mean, I brought it up before, but to use big name players like this as mere pawns, like, my gosh. Like, what is the end game then? Like, is it as small as controlling Mars, or is it, like, something that involves all of humanity? Okay, so MPS is Martian GPS, and EPR beacon is super speed communication. Okay, fair enough. So they'll always know where she is. This also means that if they are corrupt, or not even corrupt, if they've been infiltrated, then the enemy also knows exactly where Alita is at all times. Oh boy, they've belled the cat now. Yeah, was the fact that I met two counselors, you and Frau X, in such short order by someone's design? I mean, Alita, can you consider that to be a coincidence? Like, at this point, there's something big out there. There is something that is definitely controlling you, whether it's literal control or just, putting you in a position in which you have to do something. Like, you can't promise it's a coincidence. What in the world can you swear upon? Upon my pride as a warrior. I feel like we're going to see this pride being toppled then. Like, she is going to be in a situation where she learns that nope, it wasn't a coincidence. Even though it wasn't Alita's desire, it still was not a coincidence. She was being controlled the whole time. Or, she was being manipulated. Saying controlled implies that, she's something like a necro soldier, when that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that this is a enemy that is like an enemy that is literally playing 5D chess. Like an enemy where no matter how powerful the causality around you is, they still have ways of getting you to where you need to be, or where they want you to be. Wait, what? Oh. I mean, I don't think she's dead. I don't believe that Kyla can die. Like, there's no way, but that's just one other. Like, that also means that, yes, there's a spy right there, or, like, someone there is corrupt. Someone who is capable of choosing the craft that Kyla would be on and then rigging it to fly automatically and explode. Okay, yeah, she looks a lot more normal now that, now she's taken off all the priest-era and stuff. I can appreciate that though. Like, yeah, there's a lot going on there. You got to wear it all for, the pomp and circumstance of it, but if you're by yourself, I see no reason to not wear it. Okay, log 11, aliens on Mars. What could this be implying? Because I know they're not saying that there are actual aliens on Mars. It has to be, like, one of the other meanings of aliens. Like, just anomalous people. I'm stunned. I bent our rules to rescue you, and this is my repayment. She has to be doing some sort of goof, right? She feels so over the top compared to how she felt in the first volume, where she was, like, basically emotionless. So you don't hate me? Does that mean you love me? Okay, that was a good goof. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about the MBV. What's going on? I'm really curious. Like, that doesn't feel like it was just a throwaway thing. It might just be partially to make her feel more human. But I think there's got to be something else. Like, I don't think she's a necro soldier per se. But there has to be something going on. Whether it was like, I don't know, exposure to Alita gave her more personality or something. Like, something is up with her. Especially if the other MBV members, like, are looking at her and thinking that she's odd. And she keeps calling her Alita Yoko, too, which is not a term that she gave them ever. Only the gun ever called her Alita Yoko, which also, where's the gun? Like, it was frozen, right? Like, they confiscated it, but I don't think they gave it back to her. Okay, so, even with super duper ultra advanced MBV technology, there's a very talented doctor, not an MBV, but among the people I know, we ought to seek his help. So, is this our introduction to Nova, or is it just another doctor? Because those are the two big things. Like, we haven't seen any Novas for a while. We still need to eventually find Supernova. The circumstances I had around what I thought we were going to do on Mars are completely different now, so I feel too out of step to come up with any big theories, but, like, it's got to be one of the two. Either we're getting some sort of new doctor who can maybe tune up Alita, perhaps? Like, maybe give her a bit more of an upgrade, because it seems like she's going to need it to fight Erica. Or alternatively, it will be Supernova. Oh, speak of the devil, we're going right back to Erica. Yeah, is it true that I'm a necro soldier? I mean, this isn't even just a you just became a necro soldier. This is a you've been a necro soldier for 200 years. Like, that's a big thing to drop on someone. Okay, so he was the one who tried to assassinate her. Yeah. Okay. That's true. You and I are the same. We are necro soldiers. And what is your point? I mean, that's true. She's most likely being controlled by someone, but apart from that, they seem to be basically the same as when they were alive. Like, we don't know what the circumstance is around them. The way it was described to me made me think that they were just puppets. Like, they didn't have any autonomy, but they clearly do. In which case, like, what separates a living person from a necro soldier? Is it just that they've died once? Has it stemmed the flow of blood from the wound upon your heart? No, nothing has changed, and that is your answer. I'm so curious because Alita has never shied away from asking big questions about humanity. And now that we've thoroughly talked about, you know, what measure is a non-human, I feel like this is just a new level of that. Like, what level of death do you have to hit before what's being revived is not literally you? Or if there's a soul and it's gone and your body's revived, is the body still you? I'd assume yes. It seems like it would always just be you, but it all depends on what they mean by death. What is a necro soldier? I don't understand. Okay, so it can just pass right through the canopy. Interesting. Okay, so they did bring the gun with them. Okay. I was worried that we wouldn't. Oh boy, oh boy! It's Supernova! It's Supernova and, I keep forgetting his name. Gzzzt. I thought he was... Oh no, he wasn't dead. That's right, he did scamper away with the, what were they again? He had, spider legs, coming out of his head / neck. I think it was just his head, actually, not his neck. Well, this is an introduction to Supernova again. He looks rightfully menacing. And also, he's operating on a body that does not seem cyborg. It doesn't seem cybernetic in the slightest. This is 100% pure organic. He's got his fingers just all up in those guts. Oh boy! I love it. I love it. As soon as he sees her, nope, not you, not you. Immediately they start fighting. I must ask that you remain calm, and for my sake, please stifle your hostilities. I do love the way this is shot, though. In the time it takes for her to say this sentence, they've already done all of this. That's just the nature of Kunzlers. Okay, that reaction is real. He doesn't know anything about it, which is good, actually. If we have a Kunzler that is not an enemy, that is not being controlled by the Mars Illuminati, let me tell you, the captain is furious he's sunk to being the body's lapdog. Oh boy, I love the idea of having him around as as an ally, as a chained up, not super consensual ally. As much as I don't like him as a person, just this page especially, and this entire fight, it's really endeared me to him immediately. I like him as a goofy character. Oh my god, this panel. This is the greatest panel. Alright. Yep. We are fine. I didn't think we'd do this soon, but I mean, Nova's never been the scary, we'll never see him final boss. Even early on in the series, he was kind of like that, but he very quickly became a final boss that you can interact with. And especially, in Last Order, a final boss that will actively interact with Alita / even help her. It's a small solar system indeed. Yeah, they have a history. Okay, well, this is much more civil than I anticipated at the first. Yeah, and that is, obviously, he would immediately jump to, you just want to remove the control mechanism, you just want to kill him. And she's like, no, I want to keep them alive, it's just I don't want them to be necro soldiers anymore. Which, it really does beg the question of, what are the necro soldiers then? If removing the control mechanism immediately kills them, how are they still alive? What is it that is controlling them? Is it just, there's something in the brain that is causing, that is simulating the, all the signals and whatnot that a living brain needs? I guess if I had to try to explain it, if I had to come up with an idea of what it would be like, it would have to be the brain itself is brain dead, and then the necrosoldier technology is just sending signals through the brain, and then from there through the rest of the body to simulate what a normal active brain would be like. Again, when I think of something like that, I think of a zombie essentially. I don't think of Erica. Erica seems indistinguishable from a normal human being. I mean, yeah, you can recreate a brain that's been blasted into scraps. You can't tell me this is beyond your abilities. Alita's brain, I assume, was dead when he used Karmatronics to recreate most of it and then bring her back to life. Like, there's no. What is the line between life and death? That's a big, heavy question. I'm not saying that as if that's, an easy, obvious question that the series should have, solved at the very start. But, like, it's not even just a small smile. It's a big, big, big supernova smile. Like, what is this face attempting to convey? Can I count on your help? The more I look at this face, the more it worries me. Like, specifically the fact that he shifted from this, which would have been a completely normal response, to this. Like, what is this face? I can only assume it's the pure glee of, oh boy, I've got so many plans for you now. Like, you're not stuck here with me. Or, no, I'm not stuck here with you. You're stuck here with me. Like, it's not that you can count on my help. It's that you need my help. We're doing some crazy supernova things here. I imagine part of this is also going to be simply that, hey, I have your brain, but you can't have it. Like, I'm keeping it. In exchange for, whatever it is that I'm going to do with you. Okay. A manga edition of the 46th Seinen Award winner for Best Japanese Sci-Fi Short Story. Yeah, so this reminds me a little of all those one-shots, or, those, like, short stories we got in the Alita anthologies, or the omnibuses. Instead of it being a story by Yukito Hishiro, he's just, like, turning a story that is already, like, a short story into a manga. So, a bottle with something in it, and this entire world seems like it's cobbled together from various things. So, maybe it's like, yeah, plus it seems like this is the world. Like, it's not like the world is like an island or something. It seems like just this collection of stuff is the world itself. Oh my god, that's a good way to introduce yourself, I suppose. Okay. It's interesting the way he puts it too. I bet they got swept away by the storm and you were the only one left. When it seems like it's the opposite. It seems like the storm is somewhere else and it sweeps things here. Though I guess if he grew up here, then he wouldn't think of it like that. Yeah, it is an incredibly interesting idea for a place. Like, Yukito Kishiro's art style is really perfect for this. He's great at drawing a lot of stuff without it being overwhelming. Like, he's really good at using various textures to create a jumble of stuff, especially, like, in, like, Mindscape moments. Like, he's never drawn anything quite like this in the Alita franchise, but he's done a lot of, like, super detailed things with a lot of crazy stuff happening where it never tires your eyes. And I think this two-page spread is especially good at showing that. Like, there's a lot of similar stories where I've looked at stuff like this and it's just been a pain to look at. Whereas with this, like, it's gorgeous. Everything clearly does not fit together, but it does. Whoa, what the heck? Okay, Like, my first thought was that it was some sort of, like, model or something. But no, it's not. It looks like it's an actual person. Just, like, phasing through this. Yeah, even a child prone to flights of fancy can tell. So, he definitely grew up here, she most likely didn't. So, at first I thought, like, he was the one who lived here for his entire life, she didn't. But Awazu is definitely not a name from Japan, like, it doesn't sound like a Japanese word. And then she said island, he said Tokyo, why does it have to be an island? And then she specifically sounded it out incorrectly. He must have shown up here from Japan then, I guess. But I guess maybe she came from a different universe altogether. He has this big, huge machine that makes a big noise. Then all sorts of stuff just jumps out of the sea, all like boing. Okay. Yeah, so she's definitely from another world. So they are conscious. Oh boy, that raises some scary ideas about the guy with, like, his brain separated from his head and then his eyes separated from his brain. Like, oh boy. That's really interesting that, like, they have no way to mark the passage of time, but there is still time moving. Like, he still can move, it takes a long time. They said a mysterious gray matter is spreading in the Gulf of Mexico. It sounded like the latest of ocean pollution. If it's like the gray goo problem, then that ties more into her timeline. And then she recently showed up, so she must be from, like, the present Earth, from, like, whenever this happens. Yeah, that's gray goo for you. That's definitely what it was. What was it? Nanomachines run amok? Some kind of alien life? I'm certain that was swallowed by the Ashen, but it was assumed that everything it devoured was broken to nothing. Could that assumption be incorrect? Okay, so that's where World of Mist comes from. But why is it that these two specifically are still conscious and able to move normally? By the way, this is an incredible shot where it's like he's moving normally, he can write normally, but everyone, like the kids are clearly moving around him at like super duper ultra speed. Oh, it's a letter from Mika's dad. So he's still alive and he's trying to communicate with her, but he read the oh boy, he read it first. Oh, so this is what she was describing before. Oh, that's such a cool idea. Like, so he's most likely, or no, when he mentioned the storm before, I had to assume that the storm is then like just the Ashen swallowing things because things wash up after each storm. But I guess he might also be like causing them in a way, like by pulling things out of the world of mists. Whoa! And he didn't even write it out. He directly touched him and spoke to him. How? Right? Like, I mean, they have bonded together for like a long, 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 long time. What's the answer here? It feels almost as if it'd be better just to take everyone and bring them to the world of mist. Because it seems like you don't really have. I mean, I guess they've been scavenging. We haven't really seen it, but because he mentioned candy bars before, I imagine they must be eating and drinking. It's just it all happens off screen. So I guess it would be better to be in the real world as opposed to being in this one. Like if things aren't being kept in limbo, if it's just going to be a scientist like Daddy and find a way to pull you out of here. All right. Okay, so that's what the bottles were from the very starts. It's been her just constantly sending him bottles, or like not constantly, but occasionally, telling him that yes, I'm getting closer and closer to finally pulling you out. We didn't really get an explanation for why it is that the old man was able to start moving though. Like especially this moment, where like he shifted from just being able to write to being able to directly speak and like to directly move his hands too. Still, good short story. Exceptionally good. I want to read the original though. Like because this was a manga, I think that the visuals were absolutely fantastic. I can't imagine them being any better. But like a lot of sci-fi short stories, I feel like something was lost here. Like maybe some of like the inner mechanics, not that the mechanics are that necessary. Like the feeling of the story got conveyed quite nicely. But I feel like there's got to be something more to it that I would have been able to get if I had actually read the short story. Any case, I'm really happy this was in the volume. Like that was fantastic. Okay, so a practitioner of karate. So it is essentially the same word as karateka, just hyphenated differently. Panzerzittern, German for Panzer vibration. So whatever this technique was, or whatever it was going to be, it doesn't involve like just straight up vibrations. Like that is her thing. All right, so that was Mars Chronicle Volume 2. My gosh. Okay, so we have definitely moved forward with the present day part of the storyline. I do still want to see the past. Like now that we've spent some time like pulling things together, I'm definitely not satisfied. I don't mean that as a negative. I mean that as a positive. Like I want more of everything. I hope we do get more flashbacks. I need to see again, I don't really care that much about Yoko's past now, but I care a lot about Erika's. I want to see like how they formally became Panzerkünstlers and what they were like at that time. And especially like how Erika developed into like a Künstler like that is this powerful, that is ostensibly as strong as Alita. I said before that maybe Alita was holding back, but we don't know that for sure. And that shakes me. The idea that someone else out there who doesn't have quite the ridiculous karmic vortex as Alita could also like be that strong and just be hiding under the radar this whole time. It has been a fantastic, like, my gosh, this is everything I want from Mars Chronicle and more. I need more of it. Maybe we'll switch from the past to the future with each art or with each volume. I think that'd be a cool way to do it. Though we don't need that much more from the past, so I could see it being mostly set in the present with occasional like one or two flashbacks to the pasts. Because I am very invested in what's going on here, and I really do appreciate that the series is tying together stuff from Last Order. it feels fully unified. It doesn't feel like the series ended and now it's just continuing on. It feels like this is all one cohesive whole. The next reaction will come out when it comes out. I think I'm out of time to record, so we'll see how it goes. Anyways, thank you all so very much. Bye for now. Nya nya.